What is up, boys? And the Raiders became one of the most hated teams by. They just became one of the most hated teams by some people and one of the most loved teams by Steeler fans. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. This is the season finale. I'm feeling a lot better, boys. You know, as I told you guys earlier during the endless Frank Ocean review, I kind of felt shitty, but I'm feeling a little better here. I got a little more energy. Not at the right time, really. What a lengthy primetime game. I'm just now giving you guys this video, and I lied about seeing you guys in like 3.5 hours because we're like 4 hours later. Um, Man, what a game. We got a lot to talk about. It's the regular season finale. All the teams that made playoff pushes were either successful or failed. It's the end of the season, and we're going into the playoffs. We're looking straight forward to the playoffs. So let's get into the first game. We're going to talk about the Packers Lions first. I'm going to get it out of the way. Kind of like we might as well have just forfeited and gave the Lions the win. Shout out to the viewer. Rodgers looked good in the first half. Obviously, he sat the second half, which he honestly should he have played the game? No, but I don't know. The top seed Packers lose to the Lions. I mean, one of the worst teams beats one of the best teams in the league. It didn't matter in the end. Rodgers had 138 for 2 touchdowns, but he only played a half. Jared Goff had a really good game, 238, 2 touchdowns, and the former Packer Jamal Adams went out for 43 yards, and A.J. Dillon 63 yards rushing. The leading receiver for the Packers was actually Allen Lazard. For once, it's not Devontae Adams, 75 yards off of 5 catches for 2 touchdowns, and the young Amon-Ra St. Brown, 109 yards and a touchdown. He continues to have a fantastic year for Detroit, and what a good way to end the year for Dan Campbell and his Lions with a W that didn't matter. I mean, that's pretty much what their whole season was. Moving on to Bengals and Browns. It kind of annoys me to see the Browns beat the Bengals after getting kicked out of the playoffs because I actually kind of like the Bengals, but whatever. The Browns closed the season with a 5-point win over the Burrow-less Bengals. They didn't have Burrow, so yeah, maybe there is an excuse for Cincinnati not winning. But rest Joe Burrow up because he'll have to play next week if they want to win. Chase Keenum and Allen was the QB matchup today. Very interesting. 176, 2 touchdowns, and a pick for Keenum. He definitely won the battle. Allen had a fairly well game, 136 for a touchdown. Williams had 38 yards for Cincinnati, and D'Ernest Johnson continuing to have a breakout year. He went out for 123 and a touchdown. Taylor for Cincinnati had 41 yards receiving, and Jarvis Landry, 75 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Cincinnati's not going to get the number one seed, but at least they can rest up Joe Burrow for the playoffs. I'm not sure who they're playing first round. I'm going to have to look at the ballot or at the bracket. Moving on to Bears and Vikings, a meaningless divisional game. Vikings beat the Bears by 14. Futures uncertain for both Nagy and Zimmer. That's very interesting to talk about. Two coaches on the verge of being fired in a shit show game. I mean, Kirk Cousins had a good game, 253 touchdowns. He's not going anywhere, but Zimmer has a questionable future with them. Andy Dalton went out 325, a touchdown and 2 picks in typical Andy Dalton fashion. He sells the game. And David Montgomery, another Iowa State guy, 72 yards. You gotta love those Iowa State players. Dalvin Cook, 79 yards rushing. Darnell Mooney, great game, 126 yards. He's a young talent that the Bears should keep for the years to come. Justin Jefferson, CEO of the Gritty, 107 and a touchdown. I mean, I guess this was just for bragging rights. This game didn't really matter. There's a lot of games this week that didn't matter because most of the teams were out of the playoffs by the time that Week 18 rolled around. Moving on to Washington and the Giants. Another game that doesn't matter. Washington beat the Giants on a Antonio Gibson touchdown, and McCain has 2 interceptions. The Giants have quite the QB situation. This time it was Jake Fromm with 103, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. That is the base bronze quarterback in Madden. That's the only reason I know who he is. Taylor Heinicke went out 120 yards, 50% completion. Not like terrible, but it's enough to beat the Giants, of course. Antonio Gibson, great fucking game. One of his best games of the year, 146 and a touchdown. And Jake Fromm was actually running the ball for the Giants as well. He went out for 53 touchdowns. That just shows the absence of Saquon Barkley. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, 93 yards. And Slayton for the Giants had 29 yards and a touchdown. Washington was actually in it for a while. Obviously the Giants were out of it probably like 4 weeks ago, but Washington actually had a chance and they blew a couple games. They got shit on by the Cowboys, so that's how their season ended. Colts and Jaguars, one of the biggest sells in NFL history. You're playing against the worst team. The Jaguars are the worst team in the NFL. They're worse than the Lions. Yes, I said it. And you lost to them by 15 to make the playoffs. All you had to do was beat them and make the playoffs. Jaguars clown the Colts, man. I mean, that's just a clown fest. They beat them by 15. I mean, they prevent Indianapolis from making the playoffs, which is kind of shitty for the Jaguars to do. But Trevor Lawrence had one of his best games of his career, really. 223, 2 touchdowns, pretty good for him. Once 185 and a touchdown and a pick. I'm not going to entirely blame this loss on him. I mean, their defense shouldn't let Jacksonville put up 26 points, especially with who they have out there. You got Kenny Moore, you got DeForest Buckner, you got Darius Leonard. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor went out for 77 yards, and Armstead went out for 52 yards. Pittman receiving wise had 64 and a touchdown, and Marvin Jones, the vet, had 88 and a touchdown. Just embarrassing, Indianapolis. Embarrassing. Steelers Ravens. Steelers win in absolutely clutch fashion, and they are now in the playoffs officially after tonight's game. So rejoice, because Ben Roethlisberger at least has one more game in his career. Roethlisberger and the Steelers on the verge of the playoffs after the OT win. They actually got the playoffs, so that's not updated. Huntley, 141 and 2 interceptions. Very bad game for him. Ben Roethlisberger in his last career regular season game went off for 244 and a touchdown and a pick. Claypool was running the ball. He had 33 yards rushing. And Latavius Murray, absolutely amazing way to end his season, 150 for a touchdown. The rookie for Pittsburgh, the rookie tight end, Freiermuth, had 53 yards receiving, and one of the best tight ends in the league, Mark Andrews, goes out for 85 yards. Congratulations to Pittsburgh. Clap it up, because you guys have officially made the playoffs. Congratulations to you. All of America was doubting you guys to make the playoffs, and you actually made the push, so I'm happy for you guys. I really like Ben Roethlisberger, and I want to see him continue playing in the playoffs. But yeah, Titans, Texans. Titans clinched the AFC's top seed with a 3-point win over the Texans. I mean, that's not the best look. Only beating a 4-13 team by 3 points I mean, you are the best team in the AFC, of course, but that's not a very good look. That's not very good for the momentum. You obviously won the game, but still, it's not a good look, really. Tannehill, great game. 287, 4 touchdowns. That's one of the best games I've seen him play this year. Davis Mills, 301 for 3 touchdowns. This was a really good game. Deontay Foreman had 69 yards rushing, and Duke Johnson had 28 yards rushing. Duke Johnson, I thought he was on the frickin' Dolphins. Okay. Westbrook had 78 yards and a touchdown, and Danny Amendola, a veteran, 113 for 2 touchdowns. I mean, I don't really like him because he was on the Lions, but I'm happy to see a veteran still going out there and making some plays. They lost, unfortunately, but good effort, I guess, by the Texans. Saints and Falcons. Saints almost fucked the Niners over, but of course they won for nothing. Saints miss a wild card spot despite winning by 10 over the Falcons. That's got to be pain for New Orleans. I mean, Taysom Hill 107 for a touchdown. Matt Ryan 216, a touchdown and a pick. Alvin Kamara, absolute beast, 146, and Mike Davis for Atlanta putting up 30 yards. What's his name? Rashad Gage? Is that what his name is? Russell Gage for Atlanta put up 126 and a touchdown. That guy has a bright future with this Falcons team, assuming they get Calvin Ridley back. That'd be awesome. Smith for New Orleans, he had 76 yards and a touchdown. Not sure what his first name is. Pretty good game there. He was pretty much their receiving offense, so that's cool. I mean, Saints won, but for literally nothing. It didn't mean anything at the end of the day, so that's pain for a team that was missing their starting quarterback for pretty much the entire year. And they got that close to making the playoffs. They pretty much got blue-balled. A lot of teams got blue-balled, really, in this situation. Jets and Bills is the next game I got to get going here. Bills clinched the AFC East title with a 17-point win over the Jets. Zach Wilson, 87 and a touchdown, not very good. Josh Allen, 239 for 2 touchdowns, pretty good there. Devin Singletary, running-wise, 88 for a touchdown. He's been playing pretty good recently. Zach Wilson was actually leading the charge for the Jets with 24 rushing yards. Just an ugly team. I mean, 54 yards receiving for Cole and a touchdown. And Stephon Diggs, 81 yards and a touchdown. I actually saw the highlights of this game, and there was an absolute dime for Josh Allen. This was definitely deserved of a win for the Bills. You know, they're back in the playoffs. I mean, they used to be a laughingstock in this league, and now they just keep getting more and more momentum. You know, Josh Allen has brought a lot of talents to this team that want to play with him, so that's awesome to see the Bills clinch their division once more. Ever since Tom Brady left, it's been the Bills, man. Niners and Rams. This was the best game of the week. I know the primetime game was crazy as hell, but this is the game of the week right here. Niners clinched the playoff berth by holding off the Rams by 3 in overtime. Matthew Stafford, very, very vulnerable to make mistakes this season, and this game was no different. He threw the game-losing pick, and he threw another pick that really changed a lot of things. They were up 17-3 at halftime, but of course, Matthew Stafford chokes when given this opportunity. 238, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. Not a terrible game outside those picks, though. Jimmy Garoppolo, 316, a touchdown and 2 picks. 2 picks doesn't look good on anybody, but Garoppolo had one of the most clutch drives of his career. And yeah, let me see here. Rushing wise, Elijah Mitchell, 85 yards. Sony Michel, 43 yards rushing. Cooper Kupp, 118 and a touchdown. Not quite getting the record, but what a legendary season for Cooper Kupp. And Brandon Ayuk, 107 yards receiving. Congratulations to the Niners. Moving on to Patriots and Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins, they had to end off on a win. They kind of got shit on by the Titans. And them winning this game didn't really make sense, but I'm happy for them that they at least went out with a winning record. That's big. Dolphins topped the Patriots by 9 in a regular season finale. Tua had 109 for a touchdown. Mac Jones, 261, a touchdown and a pick. That's Duke Johnson. No, David Johnson's on Houston. What am I talking about? That's Duke Johnson. 117 and a touchdown. He's bound to have a really good career on the Dolphins. He's been playing absolutely incredible this year. And Bolden, 46 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Henry, 86 yards receiving. And we got Smith with 32. Pretty ugly, honestly, passing wise, but man, Duke Johnson made all the difference for the Dolphins, and I guess at least they can go into the offseason. They're going to be watching the playoffs from the couch, unfortunately, but at least they can go in the offseason knowing that they had a winning season last year, despite not making the playoffs. It's the AFC. Moving on to Seahawks and Cardinals. Seahawks kind of fucked the Cardinals over for the division spot. That's kind of crazy. Seahawks win by 8 to spoil Cardinals' shot at the NFC West title. It's kind of bogus. A lot of bogus things happened this week. Russell Wilson ending the season on a pretty good note. 238, 3 touchdowns and a pick, and Kyler Murray 240 and a touchdown. James Conner 52 and a touchdown, and Rashad Penny, if he played like this all year, he would literally be MVP. One of the best running backs in the league. 190 for a touchdown. This man Rashad Penny has been an absolute animal, and I can't wait to see how he plays next year with even more motivation to win on the Seahawks team. And Ertz had 84 yards receiving. Tyler Lockett, nice little 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5 catches. I mean, that man is just a deep threat. Just very unfortunate for the Seahawks. They went through a lot of injuries. Obviously, Russell Wilson is the biggest one, and they're not going to make the playoffs this year. One of the worst seasons in recent Seahawks history, and it's because of injuries, so you can't really blame them. Moving on to Panthers, Buccaneers. Bucks beat the Panthers by 24. They earned the number 2 spot seeding in NFC. That was kind of bound to happen. I wasn't really expecting anything less out of a guy like Tom Brady. 326, 3 touchdowns. Was it necessary to do that? I don't know. The MVP talks are definitely kind of balancing out now because obviously Rodgers didn't play the whole game, which doesn't matter. He's on the best team in the league. Sam Darnold, though, 219, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I mean, the MVP race is definitely interesting now. Hubbard, 48 yards running. Scotty Miller, 43 yards and a touchdown. One of the fastest players in the league. Gronkowski's been on a tear recently. 137 yards receiving. And DJ Moore for Carolina, ending the season pretty decently with 87 yards receiving. Man, Gronkowski has been like a big momentum guy for this Tampa Bay team, and they're going to need him in the playoffs, so that's awesome, especially with all the receiving room getting absolutely torn apart. Chargers, Raiders. Man, Raiders literally blue-balled the fuck out of the Chargers. 2 seconds left, Carlson goes out there, kicks a field goal, and wins the game. Man, that's fucked up. That's the most fucked up way you can end another team's season. But I will say, Justin Herbert was the best quarterback in this game. Despite losing, 383, 3 touchdowns and interception. I mean, he gave it all they had. The Chargers defense was just getting fucked up. But, I mean, Derek Carr only had 186 for 2 touchdowns, but it was Josh fucking Jacobs, man, making plays left and right. 132 and a touchdown. Austin Eckler ends up with 64 and a touchdown. Mike Williams, 119 and a touchdown. He made some big, big plays down the stretch. And Edwards for Las Vegas. I'm not sure who that is. I mean, Hunter Renfrow is not the leading receiver this week. That's kind of surprising, but Edwards ends with the season with 63 yards receiving. Well, it doesn't end the season because they got the playoffs. Yeah. Kind of happy to see the Raiders make the playoffs, honestly, after all the drama. Like, I don't really root for them necessarily. I don't know. It's kind of bogus what they did. I'd honestly be super pissed. But let's talk about Saturday. We got to get through this. Bolton's fumble return sparks the Chiefs' 4-point win over the Broncos. What a choke for the Broncos. They could have went out of this season with a really big win, very momentous. But, you know, Patrick Mahomes, 270 for 2 touchdowns. Drew Lock looked pretty decent, 162 yards. Didn't really make any mistakes. Melvin Gordon, 110 for a touchdown. And Patrick Mahomes ran for 54 yards. Excuse me. Mecole Hardman had 103 receiving, and Ted Patrick, I'm not sure which one. He had 95 yards, but yeah, the Broncos choked. Not that it really matters to anybody. It definitely doesn't really matter to the Broncos, but it would have been nice to see them end the season with a win. But, I mean, the Chiefs didn't get the number 1 seed anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Cowboys-Eagles, another divisional beatdown for the fucking Cowboys. Prescott throws 5 touchdown passes, and the Cowboys absolute destruction of the Eagles. That is very, very demoralizing. Like, the Eagles are in the playoffs, but knowing that they lost to another playoff team that's not even like the best team in the NFC, they lost to them by 25. Like, that's just demoralizing, especially since it's division rival. I don't know how the Eagles are going to feel going into the playoffs. Obviously, Minshew is out there. He put up 186, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Eagles defense got fucked up. 295, 5 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott, 87 yards rushing. Gainwell, 78 and a touchdown. Cedric Wilson, I mean, he's looking really good for the Cowboys lately. 119 for 2 touchdowns. And Watkins, 84 yards and a touchdown. What a momentous win for the Cowboys heading into the playoffs here. I'm not mad at that. I really kind of like the Cowboys. They got a lot of weapons. They got a team. They got the team to do it, man, honestly. But, yeah. Man, that's crazy. The Raiders made the playoffs after all this happened. Man, it's been a great regular season. I couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate all the love. Any of you guys pulling up to the videos, it's all appreciated. I will see you guys. The next football content for my football fans is coming up Friday. I'm going to do my playoff reviews. I need some time to think about this, man. It's going to be a very interesting playoffs. You guys don't want to miss it. Every single week of the playoffs, I'm going to have recaps. We have 6 games next week to dive into. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to be chilling on the couch. You know, the Packers don't have to play next week, so that's always awesome. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. As always, this has been Jeezy TV. I don't really know if I want to head to bed yet. I might. I'm not really that tired. It's kind of fucking crazy how my sleep schedule works, but hopefully you guys had a good day. I honestly had a pretty shitty day, but I'm getting better. We'll get back to a little more energy in my videos, but have a good rest of your day.